Thanks, James, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very excited to be here today to talk to you all about mobile app promotion on Twitter and how our ad tech stack has evolved over the course of the last year. Just over a year ago today, actually yesterday, we initially launched mobile app promotion on Twitter, and I want to talk a little bit about where we've come from, our product vision for how we're going to evolve and iterate on that over the course of the next 12 months, and all of the incremental efficiencies that we've built into that solution for app marketers. So you're very welcome to the second half of App Promotion Summit 15. I hope you guys have had a very interesting morning. I want to talk to you today about our core narrative for mobile, which is to install and beyond, to avoid the Buzz Lightyear-esque introduction. I want to talk about how it's important to consistently engage users, how to acquire users most effectively, and how re-engagement is really a nomenclature issue. It's not about re-engagement anymore. It's about consistent engagement of users across your mobile game or across your app. And with Twitter, everything starts with a tweet. So as in this example, we see there's a ton of app-related conversation on the Twitter platform. This example from Aston Kutcher, TapTalk, a German app, has just received homepage real estate on my phone. And Katarina, a super user of one of the most successful mobile games of 2014. Trivia Crack is love, Trivia Crack is life. And we see a bunch of different folks on the platform, from brands, super users, entities, publications, endorse apps consistently, as in this example from the Book of Mormon. You can basically split my life into two eras, before Trivia Crack and after Trivia Crack. And we're beginning to see this phenomenon called branter, or brand-on-brand banter, or title-on-title banter, where Pete Wentz endorses Trivia Crack. Pete Wentz, a well-known celebrity on the Twitter platform. I only really feel comfortable socially playing Trivia Crack. And Trivia Crack responds to Pete, I only feel comfortable socially watching Pete Wentz play Trivia Crack on the toilet. So, what have we seen? We've seen that Twitter is this sphere where users come to our platform to talk about apps, whether that's a mobile game, whether it's a utility app, whether it's a music app, whether it's a communications app. There's significant conversation volume on the Twitter platform. And what you see in front of you is what we believe is a living, breathing organism inside the Twitter platform, where over the course of the last 30 days, having indexed the top 20 apps in the App Store, there's been over 44 million explicit tweets on the Twitter platform about the top 20 apps in the world. And you can see the speed and propagation of that conversation volume over time delineated in this visual. And that conversation does not happen in a vacuum. There's a very clear corollary relationship between install volume outside of Twitter and conversation volume inside Twitter as well. So you'll see in front of you data from App Annie, which has been extrapolated against conversation volume inside the Twitter platform for Three's Game, one of the most successful games in 2014, one of the most successful paid games on the iOS platform. And you can see the trend lines are incredibly corollary to each other, where the spikes relate to one another. Where there's a spike in conversation volume inside Twitter, there's also a spike in install volume. So all of that does not happen in a vacuum. So when we take a step back for a moment, what have we seen? We've seen that Twitter is this live environment for app marketers, where consumers and users come to Twitter to talk about, discover, install, and share applications. And here's a really, really good use case of this before I go into best practices and strategies for what we've seen over the course of the last year. This is a phenomenon that happened in the UK a little over 9 months ago, where there was a Tory MP caught playing Candy Crush Saga in the House of Commons on television. And he was in a very, very important committee meeting where he should have been doing other things apart from playing mobile games on his phone. And this went on to trend on the Twitter platform. Became a top 10 trending topic on Twitter, with a bunch of conversation volume around it. So as an app marketer, what's the opportunity for you when you see all of this conversation around a game on Twitter, where there's millions of users talking about this in real time live on the Twitter platform? It's about reaching the right user at the right moment and at the right time with contextual native advertising, as in this example, where King.com, the developer of Candy Crush Saga, responds in kind. Even MPs are playing it. Tap to play, download now. So really simple messaging, contextual example of how some marketers are being incredibly successful on the Twitter platform. So content is incredibly important. That's something that we've seen as a common denominator across those marketers who are most successful on Twitter. And good content travels faster. It travels faster when you have a high concentration of good quality premium users. So some data points before I discuss some of the best practices and trends and patterns that we've seen. We have 302 million monthly active users globally as a platform. 80% of our usage is on mobile. We were never ever presented with the challenge of migrating our users from desktop to mobile. Mobile was always in our DNA and the very, very fabric of the Twitter platform. And we have over 500 million users in our logged out experience. 58% of those users have installed an app in the last month, indicating that Twitter is this lean forward consumption environment where Twitter users have an appetite to seek out apps on the Twitter platform. And when we look at the behavior of those users, we can see that 36% of our users have apps that they have paid for on their phone, and 27% of our users have carried out in-app purchases over the last of the 4 weeks. And all of that culminates in a very, very important number for app marketers. And when we look at the UK specifically as one single market, we can see that UK Twitter users have spent almost $70 million on apps and on in-app purchases over the last 4 weeks alone. So Twitter UK users have these very, very strong trends and patterns inside applications that translate to meaningful ROI outside of Twitter as well. I want to chat a little bit about strategies for success on the Twitter platform and how our solutions for marketers have evolved over the course of the last year. Mobile app promotion on Twitter is a very simple solution. It's composed of 3 core pillars. The first is creative, second is targeting, and the third is measurement. With creatives, we have invested in solutions that enable native ad units, enable marketers to package up their application in a way that makes sense for their business. We're also testing in closed alpha video app cards to drive video views and install simultaneously. On targeting, I'll discuss that in a little moment. Twitter is a very sophisticated platform from a targeting perspective, where marketers have the opportunity to reach users at that single moment of intent, in the moment of discussion, not post-discussion. So being at the coalface of that conversation where you can capture user interest and result in a meaningful action. And finally, with measurement, we have closed loop measurement, having partnered with a bunch of mobile measurement partners, many of who are in the audience today, like Adjust, Tune, and many others. We have over 14 measurement partners in our ecosystem. Targeting is very, very important on Twitter. You have the ability to reach users by what they're tweeting about in real time, who they follow. You can reach users in search. You can reach lookalikes of those users. You can reach users by age, by gender. You can reach users by device, OS, and Wi-Fi, which is a very important trend for many app marketers in the audience today. And we're also focused on building incremental efficiencies into our solution to ensure that you can reach the most relevant users at any point of your marketing campaign. We have released in general availability just last week a solution that's called Installed App Category Targeting, where you can now reach users on Twitter who have installed specific apps. So if you want to reach users who have installed casual games, you can do that on Twitter. If you want to reach users who have explicitly installed racing games, you can do that on Twitter. If you want to reach users who have installed travel apps, you can also do that on the Twitter platform. Here's an example of how one of our partners has been successful leveraging those solutions, and probably an apt day, given it's the tube strikes. Get Taxi is a travel app in the UK, in New York, and a bunch of other markets globally. And some of their strategies rely on real-time targeting, where they reach users who are talking about the tube strikes. So even if you go to Twitter today and you go to trending topics on their platform in London, you'll see about 5 out of 10 of trending topics are related to the tube strikes. And Get Taxi use keyword targeting combined with a very relevant creative to reach those users. With a very simple offer today, get £10 off your first taxi, hashtag tube strikes, enabling consumers to get to where they need to go at the right moment and at the right time. To give you another example, in mobile gaming, here's a business called Nordeus. Their app is Top 11, where they've also invested heavily in a solution I'll talk about called Tailored Audiences, where on a like-for-like basis comparison through tailored audiences, Nordeus generate 24% stronger average revenue per user as compared to every other marketing channel that they invest in. So there is a strategy and a blueprint for success on Twitter, and it's composed of this cornerstone strategy that you see in front of you. And it's this virtuous cycle over time, where organic feeds paid, paid feeds paid app engagement feeds organic repeatedly in that virtuous cycle. I'm not going to chat too much about organic today, and there's two pieces to what make marketers and app developers successful through organic strategies on Twitter. The first is their content strategy on the platform, but the second is through an SDK that we brought to market last October called Fabric, which is our mobile modular development platform that enables marketers to create virality, create viral coefficiency through sign-in with Twitter, through sharing with Twitter, and through content that is compatible with viral loops and deep linking to ensure you're driving new users into your app consistently over time. Most important today, I want to touch on user acquisition and re-engagement. Before we talk about the best-in-class solutions for user acquisition, I want to give you some data points on Twitter users. The average Twitter user has about 25% more apps installed on their device. Twitter is this lean-forward consumption environment. They're actively seeking out apps on our platform across every category. We can also see that those same users are 27% more likely to make an in-app purchase as compared to the average smartphone user as well. And there is a funnel for success, and you see it in front of you, where mobile app promotion has use cases for upper funnel, mid funnel, and lower funnel goals, from raising awareness through to driving installs, to driving in-app conversions and driving re-engagements. Recall and recognition is very high on the Twitter platform. 47% of our users recall seeing a mobile app promotion card on Twitter. And when we look at the elusive demographic of users under the age of 25, which is a very important demo for many marketers in this audience, we see that number increase to 70%. So 70% of our users under the age of 25 recall seeing a mobile app promotion card on Twitter, as well as having performance benefits. You will also see all of that brand uplift with your campaigns on Twitter at the same time. So leveraging this end-to-end solution from creative, targeting, and measurement, I want to talk a little bit about a games developer on Twitter called Lotum. Lotum are a casual games developer with a bunch of different apps, from 4 picks, 1 word, through to The Test. And in this example, they employ really simple targeting. They're using keywords that they believe are a good proxy for their end audience on Twitter, with strong relevancy between keywords and the audience that they want to target. And they're reaching users who are talking about friends, besties, DJs, and at handles about movies, TV, and similar interests. When they look at the creative, and the marriage between targeting and creative is incredibly important on Twitter. It's important to use a fun, colorful, evocative color scheme. Through a bunch of A/B tests, we can tell all of our partners and inform our partners what are the most successful strategies for creative campaigns on Twitter. And in this example, you can see Lotum have incorporated buttons into their creative and married that creative with the audience that is very, very important to them. And let's look at the results. You can go next slide, please. So when we looked at the results of this campaign, and Lotum are incredibly invested in Twitter, and there's predominantly 2 approaches. One is for burst campaigns that facilitate awareness and scale, and the second is performance campaigns that facilitate always-on activity. And through this burst campaign on Twitter, Lotum achieved a top 10 position in both the US and UK App Store, and on a multi-channel basis, having looked at similar social channels, similar mobile advertising networks, Lotum saw that 50% of the entire volume for this burst campaign came through the Twitter platform. So that's testament to 2 pieces that Twitter represents. One is that Twitter users are high-quality users. The install to registration rate for this campaign was also 76%. So 76% of users who came from this campaign also went on to become loyal players inside the game. Now also, to facilitate goals around burst campaigns and awareness, 50% of the volume came from Twitter, and we achieved a top 10 position in both the US and UK App Store. And next slide, please. Measurement is really important on Twitter. You'll see all of the performance metrics outlined here through a server-side integration with our mobile measurement partner to give all of that data in real time that enables marketers to optimize in real time and on the fly and on the go, where you will receive impression data, click data, install data, and any downstream custom events that are important to the business that protect the advertiser's bottom line. The second piece of that strategy is re-engagement. And something that I discussed at the beginning of the presentation is the nomenclature issue. Why should marketers wait for users to become dormant? Why do we not make those users profitable users now and protect your bottom line? Where we can see that 52 apps are installed on the average smartphone user's handset, and only 10 of those apps are used in any repeated fashion. To boot, only 15% of users still use an app after 2 months. So as an app marketer, you're presented with this challenge of breaking through the noise, breaking through the clutter of almost 3 million apps in the App Store. And when you've broken through that noise and you've broken through that clutter, you're then presented with the challenge of becoming an app that receives repeated usage on that user's device. And what are the methods, what are the strategies that can enable you to do that? We are repeatedly investing in what we call ROAS solutions on the Twitter platform. Solutions that enable you to achieve strong return on ad spend through tailored audiences that have 3 major use cases. The first is custom inclusion, the second is custom exclusion, and the third is lookalike modeling, where we can enable marketers to seek out and reach users on the Twitter platform who are more likely to complete a desired action. As an example of that, if you are a mobile games developer and you want to reach users who will carry out in-app purchases, at the point of campaign setup, you can tick a box, which is what we call a key conversion event. That key conversion event enables you to build programmatic audiences where we will marry your data with our predictive modeling intelligence to reach users who are more likely to carry out that audience. And as that action, and as that audience builds itself over time, we will apply a multiple of 11x to that user base to ensure that you're reaching users at scale who have the ability to carry out those actions. To give you one single use case of that, here's a mobile games developer called Natural Motion, where they want to encourage signups. And Natural Motion in their business intelligence system have a very clear user cohort, which is users who have signed up inside the app. Through uploading those audiences to Twitter and using tailored audiences, we are able to marry the games developers' rich treasure chests of information with our predictive modeling intelligence and reach users who are more likely to sign up inside the Twitter platform. The same principles apply for other actions. If you want to reach users who are more likely to carry out purchases or app opens or any custom event that is important to your business, you can also upload those audiences directly to Twitter using predictive modeling intelligence, your data married with our technology to reach those users and seek out the whales on the Twitter platform. The next slide, please. So that's that cornerstone strategy which I discussed, where there's 3 pieces to it. The first is organic. And through organic strategies on Twitter, you can establish a layer of connectivity between your app and the Twitter platform that facilitates virality. That puts you in a position where for every paid marketing investment you make on the Twitter platform, you can hypercharge your paid media spend. That paid acquisition then segues into re-engagement. That re-engagement then segues into organic strategies over time. And I want to leave you guys with a little bit about what we're investing in for the future. So I talked about some of the incremental efficiencies we're building into the product, like video, app advertising, and other methods that we can enable marketers to reach users dynamically on the Twitter platform with dynamic creative. One of the clear areas of investment for Twitter in 2015 is what we call Twitter Publisher Network, which is the ability to reach over 1 billion unique devices on the MoPub ad exchange. And the MoPub ad exchange is an ad exchange that we acquired about 18 months ago. And that's where the marriage between Twitter and MoPub becomes a lot clearer, where you can now reach users both on and off Twitter. So what you see in front of you is the on Twitter experience, where it's contextual native advertising. And as a marketer, you have the ability to reach 302 million monthly active users on the Twitter platform and over 1 billion users outside of Twitter through a similar ad unit with a similar look and feel that's completely native to facilitate scale and ensure that we're reaching users with good lifetime value, seeking out the whales for many different businesses in this room to protect your bottom line. I want to leave you guys with some key takeaways for what makes Twitter a unique platform and some of the best practices that we've seen take place on Twitter. And the first is that app conversations are happening at scale. There's been over 44 million tweets delivered across the top 20 apps over the last 30 days on Twitter. Second is that those users have clear purchasing power. When we look at UK users alone, we can see that UK users have executed on almost $70 million on in-app purchases over the last 4 weeks. The third is that Twitter is this visually engaging medium. Our users expect visually engaging content. Twitter is not a social network. We're a content distribution and a content discovery platform where we've seen a clear pattern around those marketers who are most successful, and they are marketers who are working with rich, immersive, interactive content which our users are very receptive to. And the final piece is that virtuous cycle over time, where we have seen those marketers who are incredibly successful on the Twitter platform invest in establishing that layer of connectivity between their apps and Twitter. They have invested in organic strategies, they've invested in paid and engagement-driven activity at the same time. And we believe that the sum of all of those parts is greater than the whole as you begin to mature with Twitter as a business. And so that's just some of the priorities from a Twitter perspective and where we're investing in over the course of 2015 and some of the best practices, trends, and patterns that we've seen on the Twitter platform. Thank you so much for your time.